Hi friends, welcome to EduTap. So I hope your preparations for IBPS AFO 2018-19 is going good. So basically, there's a tentative calendar which is there on the IBPS website, and according to that calendar, the prelims examination is going to be held on 29th and 30th of December, and the mains shall be held on 27th of January. So guys, we have been doing live sessions previously as well, where we are addressing some of the important concepts of agriculture. So basically, in the last live session that was conducted, we saw in depth about the fisheries chapter. So basically, what we are trying to do in these sessions is we're going to understand this chapter, the requirements of the examination, and clubbing these two things together, we are trying to come out with certain questions, right? So in overall, we are getting a good practice of what kind of questions are there, and simultaneously we are understanding the concepts also, right? So what we'll be doing in this session is just in the first part, quickly for some 2 to 3 minutes, we'll just revise what we had seen as part of the part 1 lecture or the live session that we had taken. And in part 2, we shall continue where we left in the last live session, right? Okay, so let's quickly revise what was taken as part of the earlier live session. So we had discussed the previous year questions that were based upon this particular fisheries chapter. Okay, so we are not going to do this again. In case you have missed it out, so kindly you can refer the previous live session which is available in the recorded format. So we will not be doing it again. Okay, so basically when you talk about fisheries chapter, we have been getting a lot of queries where students are uncomfortable with this particular chapter. But let me tell you, it is one of the simple chapters. We can actually decode it provided we understand the requirement of the examination. Secondly, we need to understand what are the areas that you need to cover. Okay, so when you talk about this particular chapter, the areas that you can see on your screens are really important. Okay, and one by one we shall address all the areas in the live sessions that we take, so that at the end of all the live sessions you're done with this chapter in a holistic manner. Whatever question that comes from this chapter, we will be able to answer, right? So what we did is we chose a particular topic. For example, you can see here we have chosen composite fish culture, that is carp culture. So last live session we had started studying about this particular topic. So let us just quickly see what we studied and continue with carp culture even in today's live session, right? Okay, so as I told you, what are the things we're going to do? We're going to understand the chapter, we're going to analyze the previous year questions, and based on that, we shall solve certain mock questions along with understanding the concept. Okay? Okay, so quickly we had seen the important parts that a fish has. We know that there's gill cover, and which is prominent in some fishes and not in some. Mouth, snares, pectoral fin. So we are not going to repeat it. Just quickly skim through these sections. So we had seen what each of the part helps us to do, right? Then we had moved on to the taxonomic classification of fish, and we saw that there's a proper hierarchy and we can place fishes under the phylum of Chordata, right? And under that there is a subphylum Vertebrata, and there are divisions, right? There is a superclass and there are two superclasses. One is Piscis and Tetrapoda. So the fishes are placed under Piscis, okay, the fishes that bear fins. So we studied two important classes. One is chondrichthytes and other one is osteichthytes, the cartilaginous fishes and the bony fishes. So we will not be seeing it again, just see the examples that we had seen. Okay, so we had seen the difference elaborately, the difference between cartilaginous and osteichthytes fish, right? We had also seen that the famous major carps of India, that is you can say Rohu and Katla, they belong to bony fish category. So you need to be aware of this point. It is very important. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, let me just tell you that this particular session that we are just revising is available in a recorded format before apart from this session. So if you're not able to follow, you should just go to that session and then we can continue with this one, right? Okay, and then there is we had seen the various examples, so you can relate better when you have pictures in front of you. Then we had seen that ostrich types, as I told you, rohu is one of the important major carp species in India. Okay, so we came to the question of what is carp culture. Basically, when you culture certain carp species, very simple, you name it carp culture. What do you mean by culturing? Basically, you are giving an artificial environment, but you are trying to give them the same conditions that they require for growth in the natural environment, right? So you're culturing the fishes. That is what we're going to come, the point is all about. So when you talk about carps, these are basically the species of oily freshwater fish. You need to know that. You need to be aware about the family that they belong to. It's Cyprinidae. Okay, so and we had seen that the examples or the famous major carps of India are Katla, Mrigal and Rohu. And as I told you, it is very important for you to memorize the scientific names as well. Never forget to go to the examination hall without memorizing these, right? So you need to memorize them. Then you need to know what are the feeding habits of all these. We had discussed in the previous live session as well, right? And we had also seen some of the examples of exotic carps. Okay, so there are three types of examples that we had seen: silver carp, grass carp and common carp. We had also seen the scientific names of each. Again, I'm repeating myself. Take a few seconds and memorize the scientific names. It is important. Sometimes there might be a very direct question as well, like what is the scientific name of grass carp? So you should not miss upon these easy questions that you can expect in the examination, right? Okay, so we had also seen what is composite fish culture. When we start culturing different fishes, like the fishes having different habits in the same pond. So same pond is a key word here. That point of time we call it as composite fish culture, right? Okay, so the layout that we had seen was regarding the management practices. Okay, now we can divide the management practices into three broader areas. One is pre-stocking management, on-stocking and post-stocking management, right? So in the previous live session, we concentrated upon pre-stocking management. Okay, we will continue from where we left. Okay, so quickly in the last live session, we had an idea about the various parameters. Okay, like what is the first step that you're going to take? You're going to be selecting the site. Okay, what are the important parameters like soil quality, right? And then we had seen that the juvenile stages of fish are represented by hatchling, fry and fingerling. Now, why do you need to know these names? Because when you start studying about the ponds, okay, you will realize that if you don't know these terms, you will not be able to understand. Okay, so you need to know what is the length of the fish when they are in these stages. Okay, now we had seen the important parameters of pond construction. Kindly take a few seconds or minutes and try to memorize these particular parameters. These are very important. You need to know the area, depth and the stage up to which the fish is reared in this particular pond. Okay. Then we had seen that there are two methods of pond construction. One is dugout pond and one is the embankment pond. When it comes to dugout pond, it is just like a normal hole that you dig out, right? When you say embankment pond, these are raising barriers and these are usually done in hilly areas, okay, where the land is not flat. Okay, so there can be very simple question on these two methods as well. So kindly make sure you're aware of it, right? Okay, so we are done with a quick revision what we had seen in the part 1 of our live session. Now let us come to today's session basically. So when you see here, now kindly have a look at this chart. It is going to be a little tricky, but when you just see, it is very easily categorized. Okay, so what we were doing is we were having a look at pre-stocking management. Okay, so once when I am ready for culturing fishes, what will I do? I will look for a site. Okay, I will then construct the pond. Okay, now we have understood what are the parameters that need to be kept in mind while constructing a pond, right? After that, what we are going to do is we are going to prepare the pond because I am going to stock my fish in it, right? So this particular aspect, let us start with it today. Okay, then we shall move on to on stocking and post stocking as well. Okay, so Here, when I'm preparing my pond for stocking the fish, the first and foremost thing I need to keep in mind is I need to make sure that the unwanted plant species are not present where the fishes are going to be stored or reared, right? So it comes to eradication and control of aquatic weeds and algae. Okay, so understand this. Okay, now here you can see the examples of floating weeds. It can be water hyacinth, it can be pistia. Okay, they usually cover the entire water surface. Now what happens is, if we are allowing them to take the entire water surface, it cuts off the light penetration, and because of it, obviously the food preparation gets affected. Okay, and automatically when the food preparation gets affected, the entire food chain gets disturbed, and because of which we will not see the the growth of fish in a proper manner, right? So now we need to control it. So when you talk about controlling this particular problem, what are the ways in which you can do? Obviously, whenever you talk about controlling certain things, there are various ways. So when you talk about our context, it is going to be preventive control, it is going to be manual and mechanical, chemical control, and biological control, right? So when I say preventive, it is very simple, no complications, nothing to remember here for examination. Just understand that you should make sure that there is desilting of old ponds. Okay, whatever water is present already is removed. Okay, the margins are in a proper shape. Okay, so all these are very cosmetic things but equally important, but nothing to learn from it for the examination, right? Next, you come to manual and mechanical method. Okay, now what you're doing is, when you see that there are certain free floating groups of weeds which are large, okay, in size, which can easily be hand picked, or you can even drag a wire and make sure that they are removed from the upper surface. Okay, so that is why you say manual, because you can do it by your hand, with your hands as well. Mechanical, because you're just using some of the instruments like maybe a simple wire, okay, or you're using rope nets, right? So it is very simple method that is employed. Okay, now you have come to chemical method. Now when you talk about the chemical method of controlling, now here there are certain things that you need to remember from the point of view of examination. Okay, so now I can use certain chemicals which are called herbicides. Okay, now these would help us eradicate the undesirable aquatic plants. Okay, now you need to just apply your common sense that why do I need to remove the undesirable plants? Because obviously they are eating away the important nutrients that need to be delivered or need to be gone to the fish, right? So you can see here that to avoid competition which is unwanted totally, we are doing this, right? Now we need to select proper herbicides, okay, and we need to make sure that the quantity and the quality both is kept in mind while selecting it. Okay, now what do you need to learn when it comes to examination? So here you can see a tabular column. Okay, now it is not possible to just memorize the entire tabular column, but what you can do is, first of all, in the left, the first column that you're seeing, you have a list of weeds that are given. Okay, now what you need to do, you need to make sure that you know the names of all these. Okay, like for example, very casually, water hyacinth, lotus, marginal weeds. Okay, there's pistia, azolla, right? There are submerged weeds category. Okay, so all these things, just make sure you read them once, because in examination you might get a question, okay, that which of the following are unwanted aquatic species found in pond water, right? So you need to be aware of these names at least, so that you can eliminate the options. Okay, then you have the herbicide. Okay, so you can have a look at the names. For example, paraquat is very common and important as well. Okay, so you can, and you need to know that 2,4-D, that is sodium salt or amine salt, is used as a herbicide, right? So these are two important key takeaways from here, right? So now for paraquat and for the 2,4-D sodium salt or amine salt, you need to know the brand name. Okay, because it is most commonly used for most of the weeds, right? So you need to know that paraquat is known as gramoxone. Okay, then what you can do is, even you can move forward and see that anhydrous ammonia and copper sulfate is also used as a herbicide. Okay, so just make sure that you are aware of these things. Then when you come to Yes, I guess these things would be more than enough for us to memorize, right? Okay. Now we have seen important chemical control, right? Now we come to biological control. So friends, what we are doing out here is this topic, to be very frank, might seem a bit dry, okay, but do not worry. Whatever is needed for us to learn from the point of view of examination, we are then and there providing it to you, okay? So don't worry, be patient and try to grasp these things, okay? Now biological, obviously we are introducing weed eating fishes. Okay, now you can see this tabular column. Now this is important for us when it comes to examination, right? So just know that common carp, gourami, pearl spot, grass carp, silver carp all can act as weed eating fishes, right? Similarly, again I'm repeating this because it is important that memorize then and there the scientific names as well, okay? And we have also discussed that grass carp, silver carp, common carp all are exotic fishes. So just try and keep revising then and there whenever you're getting certain points like this. It is definitely going to help you in the examination. Okay, now we also need to completely eradicate the predatory fish and the weed fish. Okay, so when you say predatory fish, these fishes feed on the other important species, so we need to eradicate them, right? So here you can see the example that is given for predatory as well as weed fish. Okay, just once go through this tabular column. You do not need to memorize each and everything, but usually when you start revising it, because this particular lecture will also be available in the form of a PDF. So when you start revising it once or twice, these names would automatically settle down in your mind and you would be able to easily eliminate the wrong answers if there is a question pertaining to it in the examination, right? Okay, so we have just seen that we need to eradicate the predatory fish as well as the weed fish. But how do we do that? Okay, so very simple. We need to use fish toxicants. Okay, we have to use this. But obviously, whenever we are using something which is poisonous in nature, there are certain precautions or there are certain points that we need to keep in mind. Okay, what are those points? The poisoned fish, okay, which is obviously going to be left out, should be safe for human consumption. That means the poison that we are using should not be poisonous for humans. This is a very important point, right? And it should not have adverse effect on the other species present in the pond. Okay, it should not disturb the environment. Okay. The toxicity period should be of short duration. So these are some of the important points. Just kindly keep it in mind. Okay, now this particular section is very important for us when it comes to examination. Okay, you need to know what are the commonly used fish toxicants. Never forget this. Okay, let us just one by one have a look at it. So mahua oil cake. Okay, this is very important. It is considered suitable. Okay, then you have bleaching powder. Okay, it is also called calcium hypochlorite. Remember the name and the other name as well, common name. Okay, so you can get a question that which of the following are used commonly as fish toxicants, right? So we have seen it's mahua oil cake. There is bleaching powder, which is also known as calcium hypochlorite. Okay, then you have chlorine. Okay, then you have anhydrous ammonia. So these are very important, and at the same time try to keep in mind the doses which are safe for consumption. Okay, like for example, if you talk about the bleaching powder, it should be applied at the rate of 25 to 30 parts per million. Okay, obviously you cannot use it just like that in how much ever quantities you want. There needs to be a certain limit. Above that limit, if you use it, is going to be definitely affecting the entire pond species, and as well as it is going to have repercussions on the human health, right? So that is not required. So the names plus you need to know the doses. So these are the two things that you need to keep in mind, right? Okay, now obviously just now we were talking about the doses, how important it is. Okay, so you can see that kg per hectare is given here. Okay, so the dose is given. Okay, so you can just have a look at it. Like mahua oil cake is 2500. Okay, So even you can do it in parts per million that we had seen in the previous slide. Now one more thing what you can do is you can just see the left side column and try to memorize the names. So you can again sharpen your understanding when it comes to the commonly used fish toxicants, right? Like it is bleaching powder, mahua cake already seen, right? We are not seeing the other things like the powdered seed of Croton tichlium. Okay, so at least have an idea regarding it. Okay, now the next important thing that we need to do is we need to go for liming. Okay, so what is this liming? We are adding lime. Okay, why are we doing it? Okay, see what happens is whenever, if you see the tanks or in which we are going to rear the fish species, it should not be acidic in nature. When I say acidic in nature, we know that pH, it has a value of 1 to 14. Okay, so if the value is less than 7, it is going to be acidic, and if it is greater than 7, it is going to be alkaline in nature. Okay, so what happens is acidic environment is not good, it is less productive. Okay, the decomposition stops if there is so much of acidic environment. So that is why we need to make sure that there is a balance which is created. So we need to adjust the pH level. Okay, how do we adjust the pH level? We need to add lime. We need to go for addition of lime. Okay, now one important point for the examination: what is a normal dose of the lime which is desired? Okay, the range is from 200 to 250 kg per hectare. Okay, now what we should do is we should understand that this particular value is given in general. Okay, this particular tabular column is very, very important for us. You can see here that based on the soil pH level, how much lime needs to be added to obtain a desired pH level. So this is important. You need to memorize it. Okay, so there might be a question that if the soil pH is around 6.6 to 7.5, what is the amount of lime that needs to be added to obtain a desired pH level, right? So our answer would be 500 kg per hectare. Right, so these values should be memorized. I'm stressing it again because these are important, right? Okay, next part comes fertilization. So obviously we are trying to use certain means to intensify the fish culture. We are trying to give them a natural environment, but we want to hasten its cultivation as well. For that, we want to feed them with proper nutrients, and for that again we are providing them a combination of both organic and inorganic fertilizers. Okay, now in this tabular column you can see that the rate of application of fertilizer is given. Okay, what you can do is do not worry about the value so much, but at least have a look at what are the fertilizers that can be used, right? It is again going to help us out. Like cattle dung is used, urea, so the percentage is 43 to 45% concentration, right? You have ammonium sulfate which is used, calcium ammonium nitrate, single superphosphate, there is triple superphosphate, right? So again these are some of the examples of the fertilizers that can be used to increase or intensify fish culture, right? So you have got your answers. There might be a question where they give you 4 options and they ask you to choose the correct one, or which is not one of the fertilizers, right? So it will just take you a few minutes to just memorize these examples, right? Okay, so now if you see to these management practices, when it comes to pre-stocking, we are done with the site selection. We have selected a site. We have set the parameters that are required, like soil quality, right? We have started our pond construction. We have understood the 3 types of pond that exist, right? Then we are done with the pond preparation for stocking with fish. What we are doing is we are making sure that all the parameters are intact. We are checking the pH levels. We are into addition of lime as well. This addition of lime is also carried out in post-stocking management also. The fertilizers are also added while after the fishes are added. So these things can be even seen as part of pre-stocking sometimes and post-stocking also. So do not get confused with this particular thing. right? And again, for preparing the pond, we want to destroy the unwanted aquatic weeds. We want to destroy the predatory fishes. For that, we have studied what are the means that are available. We have seen a list of herbicides. We have seen its trade names. So all these things you need to keep in mind, right? Now we have come to the on stocking management. Okay, when you say on stocking management, now I'm ready with the things that I require. Now what I'll do, I will start selecting my species. Now again, when you say selection of species, why is this required? But understand that this is composite fish culture, or rather composite carp culture, where you're going to select fishes belonging to different habits. Okay, they have different feeding habits, they have different a time period that is taken for harvesting. Okay, so all these things differ. Okay, but we need to be very choosy while selecting these fishes, because they should not come into the process of competition, right? They should not eat away each other's nutrients. So all these parameters need to be taken care of, right? Then we need to understand about the size that we need to pick, the quality, the number, right? All these things matter a lot. Okay. Okay, so let us just see what can be done when it comes to examination. So again, we have just discussed the species selection criteria. These are some of the general points. Okay, obviously it needs to have good market value. See, when it comes to fisheries, you need to understand that we are having an economical angle in mind. Okay, it is produced for market purpose, right? So the prime motive is it should have good market value. We will never invest so much in such a species that is not going to turn out well in the market. Okay, that is a usual thing. Then if you see size, quality, composition, this particular point is going to be very important. Okay, usually when you are stocking the fish in the stocking pond, so we have seen 3 types of pond. I'm not going to repeat myself, just kindly go back and have a look at it. We saw that there are 3 types of pond that are constructed. One of it is stocking pond. This is the last category that we discussed. Okay, so when you are introducing fishes into the stocking pond, the length of the fish seed should be 10 to 15 centimeter, nearly you can say the length of your finger. That's why it is called finger length. Okay, and when you talk about the stocking rate, that is again important. Okay, because you cannot stock it with so many numbers, because again it is going to bring about a competition among them, right? So nearly 5,000 to 7,000 in number per hectare. So kindly have this rough idea in mind. It is going to help us out. Okay, so we are not going to go much detail into the on stocking management, just very general information plus these 2 important data points. Keep these in mind. Okay, now we have come to the post stocking management. Okay, so we are done with the pond construction. We are done with placing our fish species inside the pond, right? And now we need to take care of it after the fishes have started to rear in these ponds, right? Okay, so this is a very important tabular column. Okay, so after the fishes are stocked, these are some of the parameters with the corresponding values that you need to be aware of, right? When it comes to water temperature, generally for fish farming, the temperature that is preferred or is suitable is 20 degrees Celsius to 37 degrees Celsius. You might get a very direct question based on this temperature, so keep this in mind. pH of pond water nearly about 6.7 to 8.6. Okay, so note here a point that the pH is moving towards being alkaline in nature, right? So acidic environment is not required. Why? Because it slows the decomposition process, so it is not useful for the entire pond biota, right? So we need to make sure. We had also seen liming. Okay, you remember that, so start linking it with that. So in the liming process, we saw that based upon the existing pH, we start adding lime. So you need to know the quantity. So as the pH increases, the quantity of lime that needs to be added decreases, right? Again, here also you can see that phytoplankton requires a pH of about 7. And zooplanktons a slightly lower pH of 6.5. Okay, so zooplanktons basically feeds on phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons, they can prepare their own food, they have the ability, right? Okay, now comes turbidity. So turbidity is because of the dissolved and the suspended dirt and other particles in the pond water, right? So now, first point, what is the tolerance level when it comes to turbidity? Okay, so when it comes to Indian context, the Indian major carps can tolerate a turbidity of up to 2000 parts per million. Okay, and second important point, which can also be a probable question, that there is that's an instrument that's called Seshi or Sekai disc. I'm really sorry, I'm not able to pronounce it properly. So using this, you can measure water transparency. So when you are measuring water transparency, indirectly you are estimating turbidity, right? Now, what is a solution for this? Okay, if the water is too much turbid in condition or nature, what you need to do, you have a solution. You can apply lime, you can go for adding gypsum, or you can go for adding alum at the rate of 1 gram per 100 liters of water. So understand this, there can be a probable question that to reduce turbidity, what can be added, right? Then comes harvesting management. Okay, so approximately there's a very approximate range. This is not applicable to all the species, okay, but approximately 7 to 8 months is required for the fish to reach the marketable size. Okay, so last session also we were discussing that what is the minimum weight at least for a marketable fish, so we can remove them or take them out of the stocking pond. So it is nearly 500 gram. Usually if you see 750 grams to 1 kg is preferred. Okay, but if you go to the minimum value, the least value that can be taken, usually it is 500, right? Then you have dissolved oxygen content. So carps need 6 to 7 mg per liter of dissolved oxygen. Okay, this is again important, so try to memorize this particular important data. Okay friends, so today what we have done in this live session is we have completed the composite fish cultures management practices. See, when it comes to this particular topic, whatever tabular columns that we have referred to, okay, that is important for us. Okay, so kindly make sure that you revise them. Now what we'll do is we will pick up some of the questions. These questions are not directly related to what we have just discussed, because whatever probable questions, we can do it in a separate session. We will club all the questions together. For now, let us just pick up 10 questions, very simple ones, and these are again going to help you out. So even revise them once you're going to the examination, right? So let us just begin that. Okay, so the rearing of fishes for obtaining meat and oil is known as what? So it's very simple, rearing of fishes for again economical reasons. It is going to be definitely pisciculture, right? So here there's a term of ichthyology which you can see in the fourth option. Okay, so basically this is a branch of zoology. Okay, it deals with the study of fishes. Okay, so basically you can see it is a scientific branch where you're studying it. Okay, and pisciculture, basically you're putting it into application where you're rearing it, you're applying your understanding which you have got through various means, right? So that is the difference here. Okay, so since we are discussing this question, let us quickly have a look at the other branches as well. So you might get a clarity, you can get one question out of these branches. So when it comes to fisheries, you have pisciculture, we have just seen rearing of fishes, right? You have aquaculture, you have mariculture. How are these different? Okay, so when you talk about pisciculture, you are in specific talking about fishes, right? When you talk about aquaculture, aqua means water. So basically you're talking about, on the whole, the culturing of the various aquatic species. Okay, I'm not specifically pinpointing to fishes, they can be other species as well, right? So in toto, if you refer, it is called aquaculture. Now come to mariculture. Break it down. I am specifically going to the species that are cultivated in the marine environment. So basically salt water, okay, marine fishes in the oceans. So you can see that each of the branches have a separate meaning. Okay, basically you are talking about rearing the fishes only, but the environment differs, the ambit or the scope of the species differs. Based on that, these classifications, right? Okay, the same thing here. Just understand that ichthyology focuses specifically on three types of fishes: bony fish, jawless fish, and cartilaginous fish. When it comes, so now just quickly try to relate what we were discussing in the previous session also, that the two types of classes on osteichthytes and chondrichthytes are there, right? Now try and relate which is bony fish, which is cartilaginous fish. It is something like an exercise for you when we are discussing these things. And okay, one more question. We have rohu, we have katla, right? So these fishes are basically what? Are they bony fishes or are they cartilaginous fish? So try thinking. We have already discussed this, right? Okay. So just you can later on you can just pause this video and you can have a look at these definitions. We have already seen what these three things mean, right? Okay, now the second question out here, very simple one, direct one. The cod liver oil which is extracted from fishes is a good source of which of the following vitamins, right? Now answer is vitamin A and D. Now this might sound a simple question, but sometimes we tend to get confused, so just keep in your mind it is vitamin A and vitamin D, right? Okay, so this cod liver oil is basically extracted from the liver of fishes. Again, that's why cod liver oil, very simple. Okay, now this particular cod liver oil is richest source of omega-3 fatty acids. So keep this in mind. You might also get a question that cod liver oil is the richest source of which of the following. You might get this as one of the options. So you need to keep this in mind. There's other things as well. It's called EPA. Okay, eicosapentaenoic acid. Okay, it's like a tongue twister. So kindly just have a look at it and have a look at the abbreviations as well. So this also needs to be kept in mind. Okay, so these are some of the things we have seen, and obviously vitamin D is given to children in order to prevent rickets. Okay, where the joints are becoming hollow. So these things. Okay, next, the third one, in terms of conservation of marine resources, what do you mean by MPA? Okay, so it is nothing but marine protected area, right? Very direct question. Okay, so these are those areas in the oceans where fishing is restricted, okay, where you do not want exploitation by human activities, okay. And in recent years, these protected areas are also being named as fish refugia, okay. So you can say undisturbed or unfished and undisturbed. Both these terms are important. You're not disturbing that area, you're not fishing in that area, right? You're allowing the natural breeding process to take place, because when you disturb that area, when you go for fishing, obviously there are certain disturbances in the normal procedure or the normal life cycle that takes place, right? And next important point that you can keep in mind is, in India, the majority of marine protected areas are found in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So one more point to remember for you guys, right? Okay, the fourth one, in CMFRI, what does M stands for? Now, see, this question, one more important takeaway is, in exam, they're not going to give you the full form of this, okay? Like, they're not going to say they're not going to give you full form and then say find M, okay? No, they'll just give you this abbreviation and say what does M stands for in this particular abbreviation, right? So the answer is marine. It's basically Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, important, right? It was established on 3rd of February 1947. Please make sure you are aware of the date as well, right? Under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and later it formed a part of the Iker family, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So this much of information is important for us. Okay, the fifth question, friends. So which state ranks first in fish production in the year 2016-17? So as per this particular data or the year, it is Gujarat. Okay, so obviously here you see it has been, Andhra Pradesh has been leading up to the year of 15-16, and this is important development where Gujarat has taken a lead, and now we can say that Gujarat is the state that ranks first in fish production. Okay. Okay, now in the year 2015-16, India was the dash largest producer of fish in the world, and also the dash largest producer of freshwater fish in the world. Okay, so it is going to be second. India stands at the second position in the world. We are having a huge potential, right? And one more thing, we are talking specifically about freshwater fish here. So just a small question to trigger your mind. So we had seen mariculture, right? So mariculture is related to what? It is related to culturing of the aquatic species in the marine environment. Here we are talking about freshwater. It is opposite. Just a revision. Okay, so in which year Blue Revolution was launched? So it was launched in the year 2015-16, right? Again important, and it's Neel Kranti mission. Okay, so there is a central outlay of nearly rupees 3000 crore for the implementation of Blue Revolution scheme during a 5-year period from 2015-16 to 19-20. Keep the outlay in mind, okay, as well as the duration, that is 5-year process. What is the duration? Keep that in mind. Okay, next question, the per capita availability of fish in India is what? Okay, so it's 9 kgs. Let us see here the various classification here. Now, you see the annual per capita consumption of fish for the entire population. When you take the entire population, it is 5 to 6 kg. But when you talk about only the fish eating population, then it is going to be 8 to 9 kg. Okay, so this is something you need to look for in the question. Okay, now ICMR recommends that it should be 12 kg per annum, okay, per person. So there is a target which is set by the center to double the fish production in the northeast region, and thereby to achieve a per capita availability of 15 kg of fish by 2020. So you can see here we have really ambitious targets, and it is actually possible. Okay, so the National Fisheries Development Board is situated where? It is situated in Hyderabad. A very easy question, but you might get it in the examination, and sometimes because of the tendency that we leave out easy ones, we don't take care of it, so that we can lose very good marks or easy marks if you don't know this particular question, right? Okay, again, omega-3 fatty acids are found in cold water oily fish. So which of the following is the best source of omega-3s? So all these fishes, the names are given. Sardines are the best known sources of omega-3 fatty acids. So we had also seen this when we were seeing cod liver oil, right? So you need to understand this can be a probable question in the examination. So if you talk about sardines, these are very small fishes, they are oily fishes, right? And again, they are good source of EPA and DHA. Now this EPA and DHA, these are actually important terms. Kindly keep the full form in mind and understand that these are derived from fish. So that is something you need to understand. You will be able to answer only when you have heard these terms again and again. Now we have repeated these 2 times in our lecture, right? So you need to know, by now it should have been registered in your mind, okay? So okay, so basically these are canned, okay, processed and canned across the world. Okay, so friends, with this we have finished today's live session basically. So what we did is we had a detailed discussion regarding the management practices when it comes to composite carp culture. So while having a look at these practices, we made sure that we understand those parameters that are very important for us, okay? Now what we'll do is in the subsequent live sessions, we will take up other areas of this particular chapter, like we will talk about prawn culture. In prawn culture also there are various technical parameters that you need to keep in mind, like the harvesting period, right, the breeding season, how many months are required, okay, for in polyculture, monoculture, what is the weight, what is the feeding habit. So all those things we will definitely discuss when it comes to next live session on this particular chapter, okay? So friends, EduTap has come out with a test series specifically for IBPS AFO 2018-19. So what we are providing is, we are providing you 25 full length mock test, and nearly you have 1500 questions, because in each mock test you have 60 questions, right? We are also coming out with 25 sectional tests. Each test has 25 questions. So there are more than 625 questions in fact, right? and the main aim to come out with this test series is basically what we have kept in mind is based upon the recent trends, based upon the important areas. We are trying to come out with a test which has an in-depth understanding about the kind of questions that you can get in your paper, right? So each and every test has been made with such a in-depth analysis. So when you start giving these tests, you will be able to revise a lot of topics, lot of areas that you cannot do otherwise. Okay, and the tests have been priced at rupees 1499 only. Okay friends, so if you have any query regarding our courses, you can first of all visit our website www.edutab.co.in. You can also drop us a mail at hello@edutab.co.in. You can also give us a call at 8146207241. So friends, if you found this video or the live session useful, I really would recommend you to like, subscribe and share this video. The PDF format of this particular video would be available on EduTab's Telegram channel. The link for the channel is placed on your screens, right? And you can also find it in the description box of this live session. Plus, you can also see the recorded version of this live session anytime, okay? So thank you so much friends and happy learning.